Welcome to the world of real estate, loans and business brokerage. This is Roy Malkison, your red tie agent, and you are listening to MiTalk show. Yes, it is Malkison Inc. Talk show, and we are going to talk about real estate, loans and business brokerage. Stay with us to the end of this program because I promise you, you will learn something new today. Welcome back, listeners. This is Roy Malkison, your red tie agent, and you are listening to MiTalk show. Yes, it's Malkison Inc. Talk show, and we talk about real estate, loans, and business brokerage. MiTalk show is Malkison Incorporation media production, and we bring this program to you every Friday between 1 to 2 p.m. on Radio Salam Namaste 1480 a.m. You can also watch us live right now on our Facebook page. If you go and search for Malkison Inc., you can find us over there. We are also on other social network. If you search for us on Twitter or SoundCloud, you can not only follow us over there. We put a lot of interesting news and updates on our Facebook page and other social media and keep you updated as far as commercial real estate is concerned and different loan topics and business brokerage opportunities. If you want to call us and want to discuss your real estate loans or business brokerage goals and want to talk to us about your loan requirement, or if you want to refinance your loan, you can always give us a call after this program. Our callback number is 800-450-8090. You can also note down another phone number is 972-603-5500. If you want to write us an email, you can always write us an email at info@malkison.com. And I also encourage you to go and visit our website. If you go over there, you will find all the direct links to real estate, loans, business brokerage, and different products that we provide for our listeners and client. So do visit the website. Our website is malkison.com. That is MALKISON.com. Well, who just joined us very first time on this show? This show is all about real estate, loans, and business brokerage. So our idea behind this show is to keep you informed and keep you updated because we believe that information is the new currency. And if we give you our right information, and all our listeners who listen to us, they get benefited out of it. We believe that our purpose been achieved. So every Friday we bring this program to you on Radio Salam Namaste. We start this program little over 2 months, and we start with real estate investment topic, and we discuss about different opportunity in real estate investment. Then we talked about different kind of commercial properties that are available out there for you to look into if you want to get into a real estate investment. With real estate, we also provide you a service of loans. So if you want to invest in a commercial real estate or want to buy a residential property or want to refinance your existing loan, you can always give us a call. We have a very good team who actually can help you to go through that process. And if you want to get into a franchise business, our business brokerage division always help you with that and take you through the process. It's my pleasure to have my mentor and mentor to many in commercial real estate, Mr. Cliff Bogart, back in the show. He was out for 2 weeks. How are you, Cliff?
I'm doing well, Roy. How are you?
I am wonderful, and I definitely can say on behalf of our listeners that they must have, getting tired of me running this show, and they want to listen some, sensible information. So I'm glad you're back.
All right. Well, I thought everything you said was very sensible, but I'm willing to add to that in any way I can.
Wonderful. So, Cliff, we have, in continuation of our, initial topics that we started like 2 months ago about the investment in commercial real estate, and we talked about, as I mentioned a little earlier, that we talked about different kind of commercial properties. So, what's today's topic?
Well, Roy, you and I have talked about, over the weeks that we've had the program, we've talked a lot about investment real estate, and much like you broke down a little while ago, we talked about different types of properties and investments, and one of the things we've kind of teased along the way and said we would talk about is other ways that people spend a lot of money, ultimately, on real estate, not as an investment, but as what we refer to as a user of real estate. And so let me make that distinction first. When we speak about investing in commercial real estate, I think everyone pretty much understands that. You buy commercial real estate as an investment just like you would buy any other investment. Stocks, bonds, or collectible items, whatever it is that you hope you buy, that will increase in value. If it's income-producing real estate, will provide some income along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another area where maybe many of our listeners do, in fact, spend a lot of money on commercial real estate where they don't actually own it, and that is leasing. And I'm talking about, in particular, I'm talking about commercial leases. I know a lot of the listeners here are professionals. Many own their own business. We have medical professionals. I know there are, know personally of many IT professionals who perhaps are listeners and own their own businesses. And the reality is that the majority of businesses lease their real estate. They don't own it. Now, a certain percentage does, in fact, own the real estate that they operate out of. But anyone who uses real estate, who's not in the real estate business, who uses real estate to conduct their business, which is most businesses, we refer to as users. Now, users have a choice. Mm-hmm. Users can purchase their real estate and they own it, not so much as an investment, perhaps a little bit as an investment, but primarily to operate their business. But the vast, vast majority of businesses lease their real estate. So whether they are in an office building, a retail shopping center, if they have maybe a distribution or service business, they may be in a warehouse or some type of distribution facility, the vast majority lease their space. And what they spend for their real estate can be a significant number. In fact, in many cases, it is after the employee cost, mm-hmm. It's the second biggest item that they spend. And what a lot of people, a lot of users who aren't in the real estate business don't really understand is that there are a lot of ways to save money as you go through the process of finding and ultimately signing a lease on your real estate. There are decisions that could be made. There are elements that are in the lease document that can be negotiated, and many people and most who aren't in commercial real estate don't understand all of the items that can actually be negotiated. They just take the leasing agent perhaps at their word that these are the terms, and so those must be the terms we accept, or if they're trying to do this on their own, perhaps they know a couple of items about their lease and they want to negotiate on the rental rate. Well, everybody wants to negotiate a little bit on the rental rate. Sometimes in down markets that there is more flexibility in negotiating rental rate. In a market like today where just about every category of real estate is doing well from the owner's perspective, low vacancy, high occupancy rates, and rental rates going up, there's not as much flexibility in rental rate. But there are a lot of other things that most people aren't aware of, a lot of other things that can be negotiated in the lease that will have a big impact on the total number of dollars, or what we call total occupancy cost, over the term of the lease. And that's where we can be of assistance. Now, I'm going to cover some of those things today, but this is something that I've been doing for 37 years, and I know you've been doing for a number of years as well. There's no way we can possibly describe everything, but we can hit on the main categories of what we want to talk about.
Right, wonderful. And listeners, as you listened, Cliff said that there is a lot of opportunity for all those listeners out there who actually leased their commercial properties, and who knows that if you sit with us, probably we can bring you some opportunity to finally become a property owner. As far as the commercial property is concerned. So before I ask Cliff to give us more information about it, let me give you a little more information. So if you want to sell your property, if you have a residential property that you want to sell, probably you're facing foreclosure, or maybe you want to sell it fast, or maybe behind on payment, or if you are in that kind of situation and you want to sell your property fast, we have cash investor who can actually give you a cash offer on your property, and we can close on that property as soon as possible. So do call us and let us know if you have that kind of property available, or if you want to invest in that kind of property, do call us, because we have this division called Reinvestor, where we actually help you to get into real estate investment, residential side. If you want to sponsor this program, you can always give us a call, because we want all our professionals who are associated with real estate loans or business brokerage in any ways. They can call us and become a sponsor of this program. So opportunity is available. If you want to talk to us, you can always give us a call at 800-450-8090. Again, as I've been announcing, we have some listing for sale. I'm going to give you detail about all those listing to the end of this program. So, but for right now, I'll ask Mr. Cliff to share more about the leases, how we do leases in commercial. Right, Cliff. So we are back to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Roy. I would like to go over some fundamentals about leasing that many of the listeners may not be aware of, and maybe it's best to start with different types of lease structures. Not all leases are structured the same, or set up the same, as far as the way rents are paid, the way operating expenses are paid, and other fees. There are some, while each situation is different, there are some norms, some somewhat standard lease structures for different types of properties. So, for instance, for everyone out there who may have heard of something called triple net, or a triple net lease, and I will say, of all the questions I get, from people who aren't commercial real estate professionals about commercial real estate, and that's certainly from clients or other people just having a discussion. The number one question I receive is, what does triple net mean? And so I'm going to explain that. Typically in a retail lease, so a shopping center lease or a large industrial type lease, the lease structure is something known as triple net. And what that means is that a tenant pays the base rent, and then in addition to their base rent, and the base rent is whatever the first number that likely the landlord or the landlord agent is likely to quote you. But in addition to the base rent, the tenant pays their proportionate share of all of the operating expenses for the building, or at least the triple net expenses. So what are the triple net expenses? The triple net expenses are three nets. You can obviously tell by the name, triple net meaning three nets. Net number one is property taxes. Net number two is property insurance. And net number three is kind of the catch-all called common area maintenance, sometimes referred to as CAM charges, and that's for all the various types of building maintenance, landscape maintenance, elevator maintenance, whatever it might be, all the maintenance, property management, everything kind of falls into the common area maintenance bin, if you will.
Okay.
So a tenant in a retail lease pays a base rent, and if that tenant happens to be, let's say, occupied 10% of the overall property, let's say the tenant has 4,000 square feet and it's a 40,000 square foot retail center, then that tenant, in addition to the base rent, is going to pay 10% of all the property taxes on that retail center, 10% of all the property insurance on that retail center, and 10% of the common area maintenance on the entire retail center. Now, that doesn't just mean the individual spaces or the occupied spaces. That also means the parking lot maintenance and the landscape maintenance and the lights that light up the sign at night, everything. And in addition to that, the tenant has a electrical meter, of course, and they pay their own electricity and they handle their own janitorial costs. And so that's a triple net. That's a typical triple net lease. And different lease structures, as I mentioned, lease structures for different types of properties are often very different, and people don't understand this. But if you start with the assumption that one way or another, the tenants are going to pay for all of the operating expenses, at least on the occupied space. Vacant space, the landlord has to pick up that cost. But one way or another, the tenants pay all operating expenses in any building. The difference between the different types of lease structures, such as triple net, which is kind of at one end of the spectrum, is whether they pay one, several, or all of those operating expenses as part of the base rent, or whether they pay those operating expenses in addition to the base rent. So the first thing I talked about was a triple net lease, and in that particular case, the base rent is just base rent, and they pay operating expenses in addition to that. At the other end of the spectrum might be a small office building or a 2-story, 4-story suburban office building that would have a lease structure that is sometimes referred to as full service or gross, or full service gross, goes by different names. And in that lease, which is completely opposite of a retail lease, the tenant pays a base rent, but the base rent includes all of the operating expenses. So a tenant may pay a little higher base rent, and let's say they pay $20 a square foot per year in base rent. The landlord collects that rent, and then out of that $20 that the landlord receives, the landlord writes the checks for property taxes, property insurance, all the various types of maintenance, management. And if it is a multi-tenant building, like I described, suburban building, the electricity, the utilities, and most office buildings, multi-tenant office building, also provide 5-day-a-week janitorial service. So everything's included in the base rent. Now, what happens as those costs go up, the second year, the third year, the fourth year of the lease as a whole, is probably a discussion for another show, because that's a longer discussion. But needless to say, one of the ways we can help tenants, we can help professionals out there who are in the situation of having to find or negotiate on new space, or even negotiate a renewal. We can absolutely help people negotiate a better renewal than they could on their own. And the way we do that and lower their overall occupancy costs is ultimately by using the tools that we have and for accessing available properties, and the knowledge that we have gained through experience and our understanding of what's going, of the process, to set up basically a competitive bidding process for the client's lease. And if you think about it, if we have let's say an IT firm that has a lease that's coming up, and as often happens in these technology companies and the IT firms, they're growing. They're always growing. That's why I like IT companies. They're always growing. So let's say they're in a space and they've been in the space, and now they're really crammed in there. They need more space. They're coming to the end of their lease, and they're looking to grow from 2,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet. Well, what we do is after we spend time with the client and really try to determine exactly what they're looking for, not just in the total number of square, the total size of the space, but how the space is laid out and what kind of construction they need within the space to accommodate the efficient operation of their business. And what we'll then do is go out and research the market in the areas they want to be and find all of the available properties that could potentially meet that requirement. And after going over all of the potential properties or weeding some of them out just based on what we know about the client, we will then gather information on the available spaces, including floor plans and asking rates and operating expense information and any other charges and parking ratios, and there's 10, 15 other items that we gather information on. And we go over that with the client, with the idea being that we'll start out with the universe, if you will, of potential properties, narrow that down through what we know, narrow that down with the client as to which buildings they would prefer to be in, and hopefully end up with anywhere between 3 to 6 properties that they could conceivably see their company operating in. Mm-hmm. And what we do at that point is, again, set up a competitive bidding process. Everybody understands when I say competitive bidding process, here's this item of value, and we want people to bid on it. Well, if we're representing a client, let's say an IT company that's looking for 5,000 square feet, that is to the landlords or to the owners of the properties, that's a very, very valuable item. Mm-hmm. And we handled the competitive bidding process by a use of requesting proposals, very structured proposals that are based on all of the different elements, not just the rental rate, not just the operating expenses, but all of the things our client needs. And we will send out those requests for proposals to all of the finalists, if you will, those 3 to 6 buildings. Mm-hmm. And we'll make sure when we do send those out that all of the buildings we're sending them out to are aware of the fact that we are getting proposals from a number of buildings, so that they need to be competitive if they really want the business, if they really want this tenant. And we analyze. Once we receive those proposals, we analyze the proposals, and this is where we bring a lot of value to our clients as well. Because of the different types of lease structures, again, triple net, full service, triple net at one end where none of the operating expenses are included, full service at the other end where all of the operating expenses are included, and there's 15 different variations between those two. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What happens is the proposals that come back are often structured very differently, apples and oranges. There are office buildings in some areas that are now doing triple net leases, and there's retail properties that are doing modified gross leases, and all these different types of lease structures. Well, what we do as we gather these proposals and make sure that the landlords know that they have to competitively bid on this business, once we gather the proposals, we can analyze them because we know how leases are structured and we know how to gather the information that we need to take the apples, oranges, bananas, and pears and compare them on an apples-to-apples basis. Right. Because if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very, very misleading. Sure. So that's really the first step in the leasing process as we drive to get the tenant the best possible deal. That's at that point we are down to, and after we evaluate and analyze these properties, and after the tenant, our client has had a chance to tour the properties and see them, certain preferences and likes and dislikes. They'll like certain properties better than others because of the location or because of the amenities or easy access, whatever that might be, and usually pertains to their business and also where they live or where their employees live, what have you. Certain preferences come from that, between the numbers and those subjective preferences. And what we really try then to do is zero in on the 2 top building and maybe 1 or 2 backups, and really try to negotiate proposal, counter proposal, back and forth, ultimately to get what we call each building's best and final proposal. And
Right.
at that point, after a lot of negotiating and a lot of back and forth, we say, okay, this is it, folks. This is the time. If you put your best foot forward, these are the numbers we're going to base our decision on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to emphasize we're talking about things such as rental rate, how operating expenses are handled, perhaps something called caps
Mm-hmm.
on operating expense increases, how other items are handled, such as parking charges, reserve parking space. A big impact item is what is referred to in the industry as TI, which stands for tenant improvements,
Mm-hmm.
which means construction. And typically when we're talking about TI, we're talking about the construction allowance that the landlord is going to provide for us to build the space the way we need it built.
Okay.
And that's something where we have a lot of experience as well, and each building is going to be different. We may look at space in one building that only needs minor modifications, and maybe new carpet, paint, move a couple of walls and a couple of doors. And we may look at another space that needs total new construction.
Sure.
And we have enough experience in construction and what it takes and the timing and competitive bidding the construction process as
Mm-hmm.
well, that when we're evaluating the proposals, or by the time we're evaluating the proposals, we can be reasonably certain, or if we aren't reasonably certain, we know how to become reasonably certain, that the allowance the landlord is going to provide will build the space and construct it the way we need to use it.
Right.
And again, it could be a wide variance from one building to the other, but we can help them with that process.
Cliff, one question that coming to my mind is, because you're giving example of this IT company, so how soon should they start? You're explaining the process, but let's see if somebody is listening right now and probably their lease is up for renewal, say in next 6 months. So how soon should tenants start looking for all these options or looking for a new property if they want to move in a bigger one?
Well, good question. And let me put it two different ways. If somebody came to us and said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize my lease is up, landlord's kicking me out because they've already released my space,
Sure.
and I need to be somewhere next week, we could find them space. Now, they're going
Right.
to have to make some compromises unless we get really, really, really lucky, but we could find them space. However, in order to take advantage, maximum advantage, of this leasing process that I'm talking about, this leasing process that's really a competitive bidding process, I would say minimally 6 months.
6 months. Right.
Now, we can do it shorter, but minimally 6 months. And what 6 months helps us account for is construction time. At least half of that is construction time. Now,
Right.
if we end up finding a space where not a lot of construction is necessary, then we've got plenty of time. If it's likely that the tenant is going to need new construction, or even brand new construction, if we were looking at moving into a brand new building where their space has never been occupied before, I think you should probably add at least a month to that. Now, it's hard to know ahead of time whether you're going to be moving into a new building or not. We'll look at all those alternatives, unless a tenant perhaps specifically has a preference for moving into a new area with new buildings, moving into Frisco or somewhere up in Plano near City Line where new construction is going on, or other areas. The tenant may have a preference to want to move into new space. In that case, I would say 8 months would be sufficient time.
Well, listeners, you just heard from Mr. Cliff that, this is a time-consuming process if you want to get a maximum benefit out of it. But if you like at the urgent situation, then we definitely can find you a property for you to occupy. But at the same time, because since we are discussing about leasing and negotiating your existing leases, so definitely you have to think about it. And I guess this is your homework for this weekend, that you pull out all your lease documents and see when your lease is expiring and what's in it. If you need our help in that, always give us a call. Our callback number is 800-450-8090. And this show we bring to you every Friday between 1 to 2 p.m. on Radio Salam Namaste, and you can always watch us live on our Facebook page. All right, Cliff. So we talked about negotiating a lease, and you just give us a lot of information about how the process goes. So what next, Cliff?
Well, there's one last thing I'd really like to point out, and this is very important. Many tenants, especially office tenants and industrial or warehouse or flex space, R&D type space, may not know is that there's a lot we can do to save them money, even negotiating their renewal. I think a lot of tenants and users who aren't familiar with the process believe that you only contact folks, professionals like you and I, if they're thinking about relocating. Well, the reality is, and by the way, I've spent a lot of my early years, especially probably the first half of my career, doing primarily landlord work on the landlord side. So I know both sides. And the reality is there are ways to get the best possible deal on the renewal, and it's really quite simple. And it's quite simple in that what we do is we incorporate the existing space and the existing landlord in this same competitive bidding process.
Okay.
And the way we do that is this. As we're working with the client, let's just continue with the same IT example of 5,000 square feet. Let's say there was a possibility that this client would be interested in renewing. Let's say there is enough space there. They could renew, might be a little tight, or they could move. And what we do is once we are working with the client and usually, and in this process, in this leasing process, the client signs a very simple representation agreement, which simply is our evidence as we go out into the world and talk to different landlords that we are, in fact, the real estate representative for that particular client. So what we do as part of this same process that I've already described is we will then also meet with the landlord, the tenant's current landlord. And some folks say, well, I don't want to get off on the wrong foot with my landlord because I'm good friends with the landlord. And I say that all the more reason you should have somebody like us. That way we can wear the black hat. We can be the bad guy.
Yeah.
But what we would do is we'd meet with the landlord and we'd show him the representation letter, and we would say that your tenant, our client, as you know, has a lease that's coming up September 30th of this year, and they've engaged us to evaluate all their possible alternatives in the market. And so we are going out into the market, and this is my discussion I'm having with the current landlord. We are, as representing our client, we are going out into the market. We're going to see what's available and get some proposals. One of the alternatives our client would like us to investigate is potentially renewing. And we would then also present the landlord with a request for proposal for a renewal.
Right.
And that request for proposal for renewal is a lot more than just saying what would the new rental rate be. Because by the time we get to that point, the tenant's already been in the space, let's say 5 years, maybe longer. And what we ask our client at that point is, okay, if you do stay here for another 5 years, how would you change your space? Well, most want new carpet and new paint, of course, but very often the use of the space and the way tenants use space as technology has changed, what have you, the use of space, that could be a whole nother program we could do. Right. The use of space and the way people use space, it has changed over the years. Many, many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, everybody had their own private office and they had a secretary, and people don't work like that anymore. They have open space, there's collaborative space, workstations, what have you. So we ask our client, if you were to stay here another 5 years, what would you need? And it usually comes with things like, well, new carpet, new paint, but we'd like to take down the walls of those two offices there to create a more open area, and maybe the conference room is too small, we want a bigger conference room. It could be any number of those things. So that when we do present that request for proposal to their existing landlord, it's more than just what will the new rental rate be. Because often by that point, the landlord may have casually or even in a letter told the tenant, hey, your lease is coming up. If you want to renew, the new rental rate's going to be $25 a square foot.
Sure.
Well, that doesn't include any of the stuff that the tenant really would want or need if they were to stay there another 5 years. And so what the effect of this is instead of the landlord or the landlord agent thinking that they have a captive audience, like being in a movie and wanting popcorn and there's only one place to buy it. We make them aware that, hey, there's other places we can buy popcorn too. And so they have to get competitive on their pricing, and they usually do.
Right.
And the nice thing is that Dallas, in fact, all the major markets in Texas, and certainly all the major markets even around the country are very accommodating in working with commercial brokers such as us who represent tenants and users. It's really the norm. In fact, I'll finish with one more point. In all of the leases, commercial leases that are negotiated out there, and I'm talking right now primarily office and industrial, and certainly, office and industrial and a lot of retail new locations, only the smallest, or predominantly it's the smallest tenants who don't use brokers such as ourselves or professionals such as ourselves, which is a shame because those are the folks who need us the most.
Sure.
The big corporations, and I'm talking about the biggest corporations, all use commercial real estate professionals. And sometimes they have national contracts with some of the big firms or regional contracts, but they all use commercial real estate firms because otherwise they would have to have their own real estate department, and it's a way they save money.
Right. Well, listeners, you're listening that it doesn't mean that you have a small business or a big business. You need that professional advice because sometimes it get very complicated, and sometimes because you have that relation, a soft corner with your landlord over the years, and you don't want to bring your requirement to your landlord when the renewal time comes. So it's very good idea to have somebody on your side who can actually bring all those important points to the landlord, so that not only landlord go high on your leasing cost, but also they should understand that that over the time you need some improvement in the property to run your business in better way.
I'd like to make one more point about that,
Yes, sir.
And that is one thing to keep in mind if you are a professional who leases your office space, or you're a business owner who leases your space, whether it's office space, industrial, or even retail, is when you are negotiating on your renewal, if you're negotiating for a renewal, or even if you're trying to go out and find space yourself, remember the landlord has a professional agent representing him or her.
Right.
They have somebody who's negotiating on their behalf who understands everything I've been talking about operating expenses, about rental rates, about the market, how caps on operating expenses, and all the different items, tenant improvement, construction, all of that. They understand it. So if you're not totally fluent in all of that, there's a good chance that you may, I won't say be taken advantage of. Let me just politely say that you won't get as good a terms on a deal as you would otherwise if you had a professional representing you, because, and this even goes to state law, in the state of Texas as in every other state, you have a fiduciary responsibility to represent your client's best interest, and so the landlord agent has a fiduciary responsibility to negotiate the best possible deal he can for the landlord.
Right.
And so that's why you need someone who has a fiduciary responsibility to negotiate the best possible terms for you.
So, Cliff, who pays for, so if we have a client who want to renew his lease, so who pays for professionals' commission?
Well, I can say that generally speaking, for office space, for industrial space, and for new retail space, for new locations on retail space, the landlord will ultimately pay the fee. And if it's a listing agreement, that's already part of the listing agreement, that a portion of that, if no one is representing the tenant, then a larger piece of that available commission goes to the listing agent representing the landlord. However, if the tenant has someone representing him or her, then a portion of that commission, and it's a little more complicated than that, but it goes to the tenant broker. So they have, for the most part, they have commissions plugged into their formulas. The question is, do you want to have all of that money go to someone who's negotiating against you versus having a portion of that commission go to someone who's representing your best interest?
Well, that's exactly why I asked this question, listeners. So don't think that because it's a commercial property, then you have to pay out of your pocket. As Cliff mentioned, that in most of the cases, landlord, they pay for the commission, so you don't have to worry about that part. So if you have a property that or have a commercial property that is up for renewal on your lease, so I suggest you to give us a call. At least it's not going to cost you anything. Let us review your lease so that we can suggest you and maybe negotiate with your landlord on different terms that make more sense now after 5 years since you leased your property. As I mentioned in the beginning of the program that I'm going to share some listing with you. So just quickly, we have this hotel for sale. Hotel is in Oklahoma, 43 rooms, built in 2000 and 2001. So if you are interested in that kind of property or looking for getting into hotel business, do give us a call. We can help you to find more properties also, but at the same time, this you can actually get more information on this existing opportunity that we have. If you're interested in getting into a gas station business, we have 2 gas stations that is up for sale. One is in Mount Pleasant, Texas. Another one is in Greenville, Texas. So if you want more information on that, do give us a call. We have one gas station that is up for lease. If you don't want to buy a real estate right now, but just want to get into a business and want to try your hand in there, so definitely that's an opportunity for you. So we can definitely give you more detail on that. In my last program, I also talked about getting into a residential property, and if you like that program, want to know more about it, the program is Lease with option to buy. So this company that we work with, they can help you to buy a house and give you that house on lease for 3 years, and then you have an option to buy that house. And the very important and important benefit of this product is that you can hold on the price. Current price, and even if you decide to buy it after 3 years, they will sell you that house for the same price. So if you want to want more information of all these listings or this product, you can always give us a call. Our callback number is 800-450-8090, or you can also call us at 972-603-5500. If you want to write us an email, you can always do that. It's info@malkison.com. I also encourage you to go and visit our website. You will find all the direct links to our website on our website about real estate loans and business brokerage, different product and different services that we provide to our clients. Again, if you have a property that is facing a foreclosure, or you want to sell that property fast, or you need a repair in the house, but you don't want to take care of that and you want to get out of that property, always give us a call. We have a cash buyers who can actually offer you price on it in as soon as 48 hours. So they can give you a very good price on that. So, or if you want to get into investment side of it, you can always talk to us about it. Well, Cliff, we have almost maybe like 11-12 minutes more to our show. So in concluding this program, if you want to add more to the lease.
It's hard to know where to start to add just a little bit more. It's just I was thinking as you were talking there in commercial leases.
Yes, sir.
And I know this makes me sound old. I'm not nearly as old as this sounds, but I did my first commercial lease in October of 1979.
Well, I even don't know what I ate yesterday.
And I've done a whole lot of commercial leases. Like I said, probably the first almost 50% of my career, I primarily negotiated from the landlord side. I represented tenants as well, but I did more landlord representation.
Right.
I represented landlords for all different types of properties, everything from first-class office buildings to C-class office buildings and in warehouse. Actually started did a lot of warehouse leasing, retail, a lot of retail leasing over the years. But the latter part of my career have focused mostly on working with the users, the tenants, tenants who lease space, and obviously users of real estate who want to buy their own property to operate their business. So did a lot of that. There's so many little things that we can negotiate and are negotiable if you know what they are and if you understand, like we do, how the landlord looks at leases.
Right.
If you can imagine being an investor and owning a building, what might be important to you, well, we understand all those things. And those, by the way, working with different types of owners, having worked with different types of owners or negotiated against them or on their side, there's a difference between, and this is something we also evaluate as we're looking at different properties, there's a difference between what we call an institutional owner, like an insurance company, a pension fund, or even a REIT, real estate investment trust,
right.
versus a investment group that may own the property, versus a mom and pop investor who might have bought this, like one of our listeners, bought a property as their own personal investment, and there are different things that motivate them. And so if I have a client, and I'll just make a very simple example, if I have a client who's going to need a lot of construction on their space, very expensive construction, we won't waste time going to the mom and pop small investors. They generally speaking want to operate their buildings for cash flow, whereas an institutional owner, insurance company, pension fund, they want to operate their properties to increase value. And one of the ways they increase value is by putting money into their property, including a lot of construction dollars or what have you, anything they can do to increase the rent. And in doing so, increasing the rent, they increase the value of the building. So depending on what the client's needs are, we're also going to not waste time in trying to work with in certain types of landlords that aren't going to be what we're looking for. On the other hand, flip side of that very quickly is somebody who is looking for just the lowest possible rent. We might go to the mom and pop, try to take the space as close to as is as possible with minimal construction dollars, and thereby be able to negotiate the lowest possible rent.
Wow. And exactly as Mr. Cliff mentioned, that there are a lot of possibilities, and it's just and we just talked about a few possibilities. And as I always mention that in this show we bring over 41 plus years of experience, and Mr. Cliff has been in this market for a very long time, and he understands this market in and out, and always you can take benefit of it. And we bring this program, and we hope that every single time when we do this program, you will learn something new from this show. If you want to call us and discuss about your real estate goals, you can always give us a call. Our callback number is 800 450-8090. Or if you want to write us an email, our email ID is info@malkison.com. You can visit our website. Website is www.malkison.com. That is MALKISON.com. And MiTalk Show is Malkison Inc. Media production, and we bring this program to you every Friday between 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. And you can always tune into, if you're in not Texas area, you can always tune into Radio Salam Namaste 1480 AM, or you can download their smartphone app on your iPhone or Android devices, and you can always listen to us there. If you want to. And at the same time, I encourage you to like our Facebook page, share our feed on your timeline, and share this information with your other friends who are interested or want to get into real estate investment. I hope today's show bring you a lot of information that is very beneficial to you. And always, as I mentioned, our contact information, you can give us a call anytime you want. We'll see you next week. Until then, enjoy your weekend. And from here, from a studio of Radio Salam Namaste, me and Cliff take a good care of you, and happy weekend.